Hi, welcome to the Football Phoenix, my channel. What I want to talk about today is football, ongoing, modern football, the price, fans, takeovers, people that run it, where it's going, where it's leading. You know, we've obviously heard this story before, over and over, probably the last 20 years, 30 years, certainly the last 10. Where's it all going to lead to? Modern football. Obviously, there's good parts of modern football. I mean, I'm very much more of an old school fan. I'm a Brighton fan. I like some of how it was back in the day when I first went in about 1983, when we were getting to FA Cup finals and beating Liverpool, and getting reasonably decent crowds, reasonable, about 14, 15,000, 20,000 on a good day, 25,000 on an even better day. And then, we went into a bit of a slump, probably late 80s, into the 90s, and obviously we know what happened. It's been told 100 times about Brighton, but that's neither here nor there. And obviously Brighton have, done well in very recent years, 10 years, 14, 15 years, from nearly dropping out the league back in 1997. Obviously, got a new ground, which is state of the art. Well, it was then. Still is pretty good. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I personally love the Goldstone ground in certain ways, and I obviously like this ground in certain ways. Nothing beats standing on a terrace and paying terrace prices, if you ask me. But but that's obviously in the past. Obviously, as a Brighton fan, we've got a pretty good future. I say pretty good immediate future, and in recent past we've really progressed. Got to Europe, obviously pretty big crowds. Away support's pretty good. 2,500, 3,000 at most away games. Which wasn't quite that in the past. We might get 2,000 or 3,000 at one match and 700 at another match. That's how it was at Brighton, depending on where you went, where you travelled, opposition, form, if the sun was shining, all that kind of stuff. So that's Brighton. And there's lots of things about Brighton which I don't agree on. Lots of things I do agree on. How they treat the supporters and what you get for your money, and prices keep going up. But I'm not here to talk about Brighton as such. I'm here to talk about football in general. Throughout recent years, throughout the summer especially, I've heard Arsenal, Tottenham, Villa, Man City, Liverpool, I think Manchester United, Nottingham Forest, Wolves. It just goes on, club after club, and it's a familiar theme. Ticket prices, memberships, deals here, deals there, what you get for your money. And West Ham, they're another club that are up in arms with their owners and about all sorts of things: ticket pricing, memberships, policies, OAPs, juveniles, concessions. It goes throughout the league, certainly the Premier League, and it's creeping into the second tier, the third tier, and the fourth tier, and it's even creeping into bloody non-league, the fifth and sixth tier, as you might have it. It's an absolute bloody disgrace. I'm really disgusted. I'm really bloody disgusted. I'm sorry for my language. I don't really want to even say that word. But it's an absolute disgrace. And what are fans doing about it? Okay, they play a little bit of lip service. They sort of, we're going to have a little bit of a protest, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that, but they're still. But we, and I'm included, not all the time, but some of the time, pay the prices, pay the travel, pay the whatever, pay the memberships, and then other times I don't pay the memberships, I don't pay the tickets, I don't go to that game. I stand firm on certain games, some games, whatever. But at Brighton, we get a reasonable deal for the moment. Season tickets, the membership. We don't have to pay travel over a certain radius, and various other things. And the club under Tony Bloom, Paul Barber, and previously Dick Knight, more or less, have done a lot of good. Obviously, a lot of good, but certain things are still creeping in, and people's wages aren't going up, are they really? And people's cost of living, certainly, that's not getting any cheaper. No, it's bloody disgusting. You know, this new government, whatever they stand for, whoever they are, whatever they are, have said, you know, we've got to tighten our belts, and austerity, you know, is creeping in. Well, it has been for many years, but it's going to be creeping in a bit more because of what's been going on probably last 4 years or so. Obviously, before the pantomime of the previous government and governments before that, it's all a pantomime. So obviously it has a knock-on effect on football fans, social issues, justice issues, just fairness really. The problem is with football, certainly modern football, it wants to keep taking on the world. It wants to reach the stars, right up to the moon, play on the moon, and then they want fans to join them on the moon, in the stars, and pay the prices, don't they? That's what they want. And they go after new deal after deal every however many years. Look at we've made another deal. Richard Masters, Richard Scudamore. Look, aren't we wonderful? Shake your hand. Yeah, wonderful. We've clinched a deal, and it's another 7.3 billion, and Sky going to show XXX amount of matches, and BS and all the other channels, and BBC. You know, some of us, the license payer, gets all the little crumbs of we got highlights. We're going to show you another 10 more minutes of match of the day. And we're going to show a few cup games and a League Cup game and championship matches. You know, and Sky and Santanta and not Santanta. It was Santanta, BT Sport, and now it's TNT. You know, they're going to get more games, and they're in on the deal. They get a few more of the crumbs, and Sky and Murdoch, you know, keep bringing it in, don't they? Keep boasting, don't they, to everybody? You know, absolutely bloody disgusting. Really, yeah. So, and so because of that, they want football. They want football so basically, they want the Premier League and the leagues below it as well. I think to keep conquering Everest. Keep kind of, how can I put it? Keep achieving the impossible. You know, keep climbing that mountain, then climb another one, and then reach the top and say, "Look what we've done. Look, we're going to do in another 4 years. I'm going to do that." And so all this huge money and commercial activity is producing this knock-on effect, this gravy train of where the clubs, well, I would say the players, can have bigger bloody wages. They're going to have more freedom of contract. So that means that they need to be on better contracts, and then you're going to find money from there, and so on and so on. And obviously, financial PSR, financial fair play, whatever it's called. You know, certain things have been tweaked and adjusted. That's come into play. So what that means is clubs can't rely on just their television income, this income, that income. Like before, they could spend anything they liked, and didn't really have to answer, unless it really got out of control, like Leeds United, Glasgow Rangers, Portsmouth, to name but three, and obviously other clubs. And obviously clubs way down the pyramid. Wrexham and Bury, clubs like and many more clubs where they had a knock-on effect as well, where they couldn't even pay this and they couldn't pay that. Had disastrous owners, and then another load of disastrous owners come in. Look at Reading, another example. Where this whole knock-on effect of obviously the haves and have-nots, and even clubs like Brighton and Bournemouth, smaller clubs, Brentford, they've had brilliant recent years, and they're sort of, achieving things year by year. Keep not only are they walking, but they're starting to run as well. Starting to get the top 6, Brighton, and top 10 and top 12, and the cup runs, and shelling out for players for 25, 30, 40 million. Smaller clubs staying up. Obviously, staying up now is like that's the least of the requirements. That's Brighton now. Tony Bloom wants top 10 every year, and he has done for the last couple of seasons, 2 or 3 seasons. Finished 11th last year, 6th the year before that, and 9th the season before that. So yeah, brilliant for ambition, but obviously there's a cost and a knock-on effect. So it's a real complex situation. Obviously you got to balance the books. That's absolutely bang on the money. You've got to balance the books. Portsmouth, a great club, but they didn't balance the books. They were living on air. Leeds United. Oh, okay. If that comes in and that comes in, and we finish 4th, and we get that cup run, and we get that sponsorship deal, we'll we'll be all right, eh? So yeah. So what am I saying? I'm saying Villa. They've just reached the Champions League, the European Cup, for the first time since 82-83 season. My first season of really liking football as a young kid. So I think they said in the summer to their fans, ticket prices will go up a little bit here and a little bit there and this and that. And fans sort of said, okay, we're going to bring in players, we're going to sell players, PSR, we're going to balance a few books, but we're going to get, going to try and speculate to accumulate, as they say, to get, to keep the club progressing, and all well and good. And they've done very well last couple of years, Aston Villa. Another great club. And why not? But, so yesterday we heard the news that they've put up the prices absolutely astronomically for these group games. Instead of you paying, 30 quid, 40 quid, you're paying 70 quid, 80 quid. I think 60 quid, maybe. I could be wrong. But all I know is the whole of football, never mind Villa fans, are up in arms on that exploitation. Exploitation. It's absolutely bloody disgusting. I mean, I know their owners have done well since they've took over, I don't know, 5-6 years ago. They've gone up, reached the League Cup final, stayed up, few mid-table positions, and then finished 7th, finished 4th, did well in Europe, conference league semi-final last year. And Unai Emery, fantastic manager, good coach, track record is there to see, has really done fantastic. After Steven Gerrard, he was an absolute wuss, and that's been kind. And from what I've heard, and I've heard some information about what he was like, and it doesn't sound good. But that he's in the past. He's gone to wherever he's gone to, back in Saudi Arabia for his what a money. Good luck to him. So Villa are obviously progressing nicely as a club, on and off the pitch, getting big crowds, big away support, good sponsorship deals. They got some brilliant plans for their ground, Villa Park, which is a great ground anyway, to maybe make it a bit bigger, and they've got rail seating here and something else there, and they've got an academy a social academy for just ordinary people or young people, and to help. They've got that going on, and they've got a new big superstore. They've got a new kind of like a Wembley style. What was that called? The one Wembley. It's like a great big fan centre, meeting place. You can watch games and drink, and like Box Park. Yeah, Box Park. They've got one of them being built. They're going to have a new North Stand. The North Stand, which was built in the 70s, that's going to be replaced at some point, I think, in the next few years. And they've got ongoing plans to maybe make Villa Park about 60,000. At the moment, it's about 43,000. But that's in the future for their club. And they've done well, and their owners have done well, and off the pitch, they've got a lot of vision, and they have done well. But at the moment, but even last season, I think they had some corporate issues, corporate seats, corporate boxes, membership schemes where fans were priced out, and introducing this and introducing that. I think in the Holt End, and then somewhere else they got another little area, for the rich, exclusive people, and that upsets a lot of things. And I think there's a lot of unfairness going on, and it's been creeping in the last season or two, maybe longer. Obviously, they will say, or football will say, for a better quality of player, better quality of manager, better quality of match, you have to pay a little bit more, like my club at Brighton. Sometimes you don't mind doing that up to a point, every so often, not every bloody year. And that's all well and good if you're seeing good football, success on the park, a winning team, etc., etc. But if you're not, then it's not worth it, is it? And football and the media, they will manipulate you and tell you in the newspapers, on YouTube channels like this, on television, on radio, Talk Sport, will tell you that every club needs to be ambitious, every club needs to speculate to accumulate, and fans can't have something for nothing, and all that stuff. Yeah, football, it's a working class game. Okay, people, I know people know it's not anymore. Ooh, well, I think it is. Generally still is. We can have as many fans overseas as they like, and as many tourists. Yeah, all well and good. And fans watching TV in Asia and in America, South America, Arab nations. Wasn't it great? All we got and Far East. Isn't it great? Australia. Isn't it great? We got this, that, and the other, and we got more fans. We got more. We've got. Our fan base is growing and growing. Yeah, great. What about your local fans? What about your real fans? What about the people like at Brighton who were there in 1996, 1997, 1995? The 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 of us. And what about the Villa fans? Were there when they were getting relegated back in 2016, and and the Villa fans before that. Who've been going since, I don't know, the 70s, even the 60s, some even the 50s. People just don't give a flying hoot, and that's being kind, about the your hardcore fan base, like this country generally, without getting political. It's so many parties have given up on the working class in this party. No wonder a decent portion of them are up in arms, without getting too political. And it's a knock-on effect with football, society. We've all got to pay our mortgage, our bills, this, that, and the other. And when you got a bloke, a father taking his son, one son, a daughter, another son or a daughter, how much is that? And that's just 30, 40 quid a ticket, programme, meal, a bit of food, drink, you know, petrol. You're looking at 100 quid. You're looking at, crikey, you're looking at about 150 quid. One bloody match. I used to go with my dad years ago. It was about, you know, you could a seat would cost you 5, 6 quid, and a spot on the terrace will probably cost you £1.50, £2, £3 over generally in the 80s. Okay, and even by the late 90s, 97, when Brighton left the Goldstone, it was about £7, maybe £8 to stand in the North Stand terrace at the Goldstone. £8, I think it was, £7 or £8, yeah. And that should be the equivalent of then is what it should be now for your cheapest ticket, because obviously they've got seats in grounds after Hillsborough. That's another conversation altogether. For whatever reason, they've managed to exploit the fan, and it's probably tripled or quadrupled what it should be, and that's just the cheapest ticket. I mean, I could be wrong. All clubs are different, I suppose, depending on their situation and price structure. I mean, in London, it's absolutely astronomical. It's bloody disgraceful, you know. But, you know, and these fans, Tottenham, Chelsea, even West Ham now, which was relatively cheap. That's why they filled their ground for 60,000 people, 60,000 people, because, you know, it was quite cheap. You know, Upton Park, you know, they were getting, you know, great club, West Ham, well supported, but they were, you know, they weren't averaging more than 33, 34,000 ever in their history. And now they're getting 58, 60,000, you know, great. I don't like the ground. I can't stand it. I don't think they like it, but they were told, or the fans were told, even Tony Cottee came out and said, this will put the club in the future. This will place the club. This will go places. It was this stadium, this Olympic Stadium, you know, remodeled for free. Or no, it's not for free, is it? Come on, they do have to pay, and they have to pay a lot, I think, in rent. But it's quite a good deal, from what I understand. Yeah, Tony Cottee and others were in the media here, there, and everywhere were saying this will put the club onto a different level to compete with the you know, the big clubs: Liverpool, Manchester United, Arsenal, Tottenham, Man City, Newcastle. You know, clubs with big capacities, Chelsea, you know, and so on. And West Ham have done pretty well up to a point. Since they've been there, they've done well in Europe. They've done very well in the league, but you know, now but you know, now they're having to pay ridiculous prices. I think there's a situation with concessions, this, that, and the other. Older fans and whatever. I don't know the full story, but I know they're up in arms, like a lot of clubs. So yeah, so them, Chelsea, even Palace, you know, South London, their prices are bloody high. You know, I know they've done well, like Brighton, but it's still bloody higher than Brighton's. Yeah, and Brentford as well. They're creeping up. Brentford, you know, they've got to keep up with, I suppose, like Brighton and whatever, keep up with the Joneses, as they say. And so they've got to do this and do that, and they've got to keep bringing in the money. You know, obviously, clubs sell players, you know, for hundreds of millions now. Brighton, whole list of them the last 3 or 4 years. Made a huge profit last year. They keep going on about it. Yeah, great, wonderful. But again, this you got to compete. You got to buy that player. Real Madrid have got to buy that player. Manchester United got to be the best. We're supposed to be the best. We've got to buy this player and that player. And in the end, it causes an absolute frenzy, doesn't it? So this goes up, that goes up, that goes up. The wages go up. He goes up. His agent says, "Hang on, X, Y, and Z are getting that, so I want my player to get that." So then that goes up, and then they've got to pay for a stadium. Then that goes up, and then that's got to do that, and they've got to pay for a roof. Or I'm not saying Old Trafford. I know they've had problems with their roof and ground, and then they probably will be spending some money on their ground, obviously with this what's his name, Ratcliffe, that's come in as I think 25%. He owns 25% shares, doesn't he? So yeah, they're going to be spending money. So they're going to say, well, all the Glaziers and Ratcliffe or whoever, they're going to say, well, we need a bit more money in the pot from this area and that area and that area to pay for this, that, and the other. And then it comes back on the fans. They're only getting bloody this in their wages in austerity times, cost of living, and it's absolute madness. Where are we going? Me and my friends, we debate this all the time, here, there, and everywhere, online or chat rooms, down the pub, in the ground, in in our living rooms, on our phones, But it's a lot of talk. Where are they going to keep pushing? Clubs keep pushing, and fans keep paying. And there's going to come a time where enough is enough. But they've been saying that for the past 20 bloody years, at least, maybe longer. If the worst comes to the worst, I'll go and watch, non-league football. I'll go and watch Burgess Hill. I'll go and watch Worthing, another team that I've started to watch recently. Forget it. If Brighton, one day in the next coming years, push me out, or and I don't like what I'm seeing, and so maybe they get taken over and they got owners, eventually. It could be years, and they exploit, and at the moment it's just about okay at Brighton. I'm open-minded on what they're doing and where they're going. Obviously their success. Obviously people are willing to pay this, certainly at Brighton or whatever. My club Brighton for as an example, because we're being very successful. Not only staying in this league, but competing for cups, 2 semi-finals of the FA Cup in recent years, as I say, a 9th, a 6th, and an 11th. So all the time, and we're playing very good football. So I know the club's got to make money. I understand that. All clubs have got to make money up to a point. But when you're really, really shitting on the fans, that's absolutely out of order. So many fans now just can't afford to go. And fans have got to really, if all the fans basically didn't turn up for 1 game, 2 games, or just didn't pay these prices, they wouldn't get away with it. They would not get away with it. All because clubs know that they can, because I've got to watch a winning team. I've got to watch my team. I've been told I have to watch my team. If I didn't watch them when they weren't successful, then I have to watch them now they are successful. And you know what I mean? In your head, you're thinking that, and you're thinking that. Oh, I mean, as Brighton fans, obviously, we're doing well, and obviously our crowds were terrible for various reasons back in the 90s, be it boycotts, results, whatever. And people say, where have Brighton got 28, 30,000 fans from? And they're probably right. I mean, we used to get big crowds years ago, in the 70s and periods of the 80s and 50s and 60s. We used to get 20, 25,000, 30, 36,000. So, yeah. But then for many years, Brighton had terrible, terrible crowds. For various reasons. I mean, our owners, the stadium, Withdean, Gillingham, capacity, and obviously up until we got the stadium, the Amex Stadium at Falmer, we didn't have these crowds, for many years. So, but that's another story. So I suppose fans have got all their different reasons for going and not going. But the common denominator now, as I see it, is that fans really need to stick together, and basically say enough's enough. And for certain games, maybe not all of them, don't go to that game, don't go to that game, don't go to this game, and let them see around the world, half empty stadium, quarter empty stadium. Anyway, that's what I wanted to say. Please give a like if you like the video. And yeah, so thank you very much. Cheers. See you next time.